from the team outlook to away games. There's all kinds of questions that you have, even a little bit of basketball. We're going to tackle it all on the Michigan Mailbag on this episode of Locked On Wolverines.
You are Locked On Wolverines, your daily podcast on the Michigan Wolverines, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Thursday. We are back and doing it. Locked On Wolverines podcast, part of the Locked On podcast, where it's your team every day. I'm your man on the ground, Isaiah Holt, publisher of Wolverines Wire through USA Today Sports Media Group. Thank you to our everydayers who listen to us every single day. Also, big thank you to those of you who make us your first listen. We do appreciate it. It's the Michigan Mailbag. We're going to get right to it, starting with our leaders and best. James Crudup at James Crudup 6. What's the floor on the Michigan basketball team next year? We're going right to basketball right away, which is uncomfortable for me, but we're doing it. I'm not 100% sure, but I would say Sweet 16 is probably the floor bar. I mean, you can't say because you just don't know how the pieces are going to fit, right? Like, I feel like we're doing some Tool, right? I know the pieces fit because I watched them fall away. We haven't really seen it fall away yet under Dusty May. Well, we did during the regular season. But I think that it's one of those scenarios where Sweet 16 would be probably the worst case scenario, barring a just complete and total collapse. Having fun with the crane already today. Having lots and lots of fun. We're gonna do this on the fly. That's what we're gonna do. But it's just stopping the top of it's on top of the key. All right. Anyhow. I think, though, I mean, the Final Four is probably something where I would look at that and say that's what it should be. Will it be? I don't know. We'll find out. Josh Barajadicki, what coach do you think is currently not getting enough credit for what they do on the staff and why? I'm going to go ahead and go with Ron Bellamy. And I know he's not necessarily someone that everyone goes nuts over, right? But Ron Bellamy, like, we saw that the receivers were doing an okay job. A lot of the time last year, the problem just kind of was the quarterback play. Like, the receivers weren't, like, super top notch. It wasn't a scenario where you're like, man, those Wolverines receivers are just, they're off the chain. They're doing everything that you want them to do or anything like that. But certainly, I think that they did a good enough job, given like kind of the lack of talent and the fact that there wasn't a quarterback room. Ron Bellamy is like, I know he gets a bad rap in a lot of ways, and I think that he's a lot better than people kind of give him credit for. So I'm going to go with Ron Bellamy. I think that he's much better than people really say. You're right, because like I think the defensive staff gets its flowers. I think the rest of the I have questions about Grant Newsome right now. I think anyone, should, just kind of given what we've seen there. Right, because they went from being dominant to, granted, it's new players and stuff like that. So it's kind of hard to really say. But I'm going to go with Ron Bellamy. Yeah, we're just not going to be able to keep this crane going the way it's supposed to. We're just going to have to manually do it all day. One of these days, we'll have a podcast where we're not meta about the 3 cameras set up, and you might see the crane going. It's because I'm manually telling it to do what it's supposed to do, because it's getting to the one side and saying, nope, I'm not going to do what you're telling me to do. But I don't have to get up to fix it. I just have to keep hitting a button. All right, next, Jimmy Whitner at Jimmy Whitner 1. And ironically, the puppy who is here is not doing anything other than just laying here. He says, I love the new Zuri and Isaiah show. Do you think Michigan will finish with a top 8 recruiting class? Top 8's a lot to ask. Because we're just not sure who those 5 stars are going to be as of yet, right? Like, we're still just kind of looking and saying, like, all right, they've got a couple that they absolutely could get. I'm not sure that we necessarily know who they are going to be as of yet. So I don't really know yet if I would call it a top 8 recruiting class just yet. I think top 10. I know that's like negligible. I I think 10, 12, I think that's kind of where you'd look and you say, all right, I think that that's probably feasible at the moment. I mean, they got to get some of these guys. And then a lot of the guys that they're after that are 5 stars aren't necessarily consensus guys either, right? Like Bryce was, Andrew Babalola was last cycle. Ty Haywood was not once everything was said and done. Some of the guys, there's just a little bit wider disparity with some of the players that they're really in on. So I'm not as clear that that's how that's going to go. So we'll see. I think that they absolutely can have a top 10-ish class. Will it end up there or maybe around like 12? I think worst case, probably 15. All right, let's finish out segment 1. Spencer Whitmore at Spencer Whitmore, which is the biggest overreaction by the fan base? 5-0 headed to glory or 3-2 doom and gloom? I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say 5-0 would be a overreaction, because then you kind of like, it would take some kind of faltering by Michigan in kind of the way that you'd be like, all right, they should have been a much different. Oh, here comes Zuri. One question after Jimmy Whitner. Here comes the puppy. I think that, you know, you look at the rest of the schedule, and if they lose someone, you know, obviously if you're going with the 5th win, you've got it going into the USC game, so that they would have beaten at that point New Mexico, Oklahoma, Central Michigan, Nebraska, and Wisconsin, and the next game would be going to USC. And then after that, you've got games against Northwestern, Purdue, Maryland, Michigan State. You know, like, you know, it's not exactly a murderer's row, Washington, of teams. So I think if you feel like, man, this might be a special year if they go start out 5-0, I don't think that's an overreaction, because then Ohio State, you absolutely like should expect to go into that game undefeated at that point, barring just a meltdown somewhere along the way. That's how I would look at it. But 3-2 doom and gloom. I mean, again, they could finish 10-2 in the regular season here. So I wouldn't see that as being necessarily a massive problem either. So yeah, that I think that would be a fine place to go or whatever. Either way, I don't think I think if you're doom and gloom at 3-2, given the rest of the schedule, that's the biggest overreaction. Otherwise, I think it's fine. All right, we have plenty more, and we are going to continue on, and we're going to do so here in just a moment. But before we do, the NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't miss moments. Just having fun here. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip and also live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. You already know the 4 teams that are in there. You know the players. It's the perfect situation where you can build a same-game parlay, even in-game, as you're catching certain players heating up. The Knicks are favored over the Pacers in Game 5 of the Eastern Conference Finals tonight, despite being down 3-1. I took a same-game parlay. I've taken the Knicks money line, Jalen Brunson scoring 30-plus points, Tyrese Halliburton with 25-plus, and then Karl Anthony Towns securing 10 or more rebounds. I think it's a good bet. We'll see. If you're new to FanDuel, now is the perfect time for you to sign up, because when you go to head over to FanDuel.com, you can place your first $5 bet, and if that wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, you are looking live as I try to fix this without completely screwing the show up. It's a fun time. Probably am going to, but we'll see. All right, we've got more. We're going to go right to the Victor's Valiant, starting with generic at ERKJ72. He asks, Of all the places you've been covering Michigan football, what is the best food spot you've been to? That is a tough one, man. That's a real tough one. There's a lot that I've liked. Think about like going to Old Ebbitt's Grill in Washington, D.C. Where did I eat didn't eat anything necessarily special when I was in Seattle. I had a pretty good breakfast spot that I didn't go to it. I had it DoorDashed at my friend's place. Let me think. Where else was there? That's the hard part. There's a great Mexican restaurant in Happy Valley, and I feel like this is just covering my face, and there's nothing I can do about it. I'm just trying to, again, work out some of the kinks live. I feel like there's a great Mexican place that John Jansen loves in Happy Valley. I can't remember the name of it. That would be one of the places. I would think, where else? I can't think of anything that's like very specific, because there's not really anywhere I've been like, yeah, I go there all the time, and that's the place that I just absolutely love. I cannot think of it. So I'll have to think on that more. Maybe ask that question again next week, and we'll see if that's if I can have a better answer, because I'm sorry, I just don't have a very good one at the moment. Perry Mitchell at Perry Mitchell 08. Who are the inflection points at cornerback? Jair Hill is the inflection player. Wide receiver. Last year it was Kendrick Bell. Now it's just Donovan McCulley, right? Like if he plays amazing, then that's what the group's going to be. If he doesn't play amazing, then that, all bets are off, right? So it's kind of that's what I would say there. I can't win today as far as the framing and everything goes. And offensive line, Greg Crippen playing out of his mind would be the inflection point at offensive line. He said that you think would turn their side of the ball from good to great. So yeah, I think I'm going to stick with that. I mean, Donovan McCulley certainly at wide receiver. Then I think it's just as simple as Jair Hill being like that great player on that corner. And then offensive line, I'd say Greg Crippen, but I can also say Evan Link. If he's the left tackle, if he plays out of his mind, then you're good to go. That's what I would say. West Than Perfect at West Than Perfect. Do you think that night games should be reserved for top tier opponents? Mostly, but I would add to that, and I would say additionally, it should be top tier opponents, and I'll give you season openers. And you can include the Big Ten season opener with that. Maybe, I don't know. You don't really want to see like Michigan, Maryland, and which would have been the case in 2022. You don't really want to see like Michigan, Maryland be like oh man, it's a night game. Like, okay, I'm fine with like the season opener, like the actual season opener this year against, and that was just announced right before we did start the show here. New Mexico, that being it, I think that's fine, right? Like I think that's absolutely fine with New Mexico being the season, a night game season opener. It's not always fun, right? When it's like you, yeah, if you're a Michigan fan, having Texas that night would have been a heck of a lot more fun than Fresno State. But at the same time, to open the season, having to wait all day for that, I mean, that adds the level of excitement, certainly. Chubbs GB at Talk with Chubbs. Do you think there will be a year where Michigan uses all of their uniforms, the all whites, all maize, all blues, and something maybe blue tops and white bottoms, or maize tops and blue bottoms? No, I don't think there's going to be a year where they do all of them. And I know Bryce was on the EA Sports saying like EA Sports is in the game wearing the blue top and the white bottoms. I hope we never see that ever. I could see seeing all whites, all blues, all maize in a given year. And I'd rather see, if you're going to see a combination, I'd rather see the maize tops and the blue bottoms. I think that could be intriguing. The fact that we have only seen the maize, all maize in the Florida game and in the spring game is kind of wild to me. Especially because they won that Florida game. It seems like you'd see it more after that, but I don't know. He also says, can we get you back on the squad show a little more often? That's the plan. I'm still trying to work, spend my free time working out this room. And then eventually we'll probably get back on there. All right. ZT Jones at who_Zach Jones. It's asked, with Denard on NCAA football cover next to Bryce, does that mean that things are patched up between he and Michigan? Number one, I don't think that that's any kind of indicator, right? That's EA Sports making their decision. He was the last guy on NCAA college football or NCAA football 14 or whatever you want to call it. And I don't think that's Michigan's choice, but I also don't think it's like he and Michigan are necessarily in a bad spot. It's just that he made a dumb decision by driving under the influence and being in that situation. And I don't think that it means that they're patched up. I wouldn't expect to see him hired in his old role anytime soon. I think he's got to work his way back up, right? That's just how it goes, unfortunately. Clark at Blue for Life 8, which coach on this staff do you see being a head coach next? Lou Esposito, because he's been a head coach. Just to cheat, I guess. I could see him or Lamar Morgan. They seem to me to be the most likely candidate. I mean, Ron Bellamy has done it before at the high school level, and he did a great job. Like, he turned, not to make this the Ron Bellamy show, he turned West Bloomfield into like whatever, from like whatever to being a state champion. So I mean, that's a masterful job that he did there. Those would be the three that I would say at this point. They'll tell you that it's Grant Newsome. I need to see more from him. I don't know about the rest. I mean, Wink absolutely could be, but I don't know if that's something that he wants to do. He hasn't really indicated that. Richard Schumacher at RW Schumacher, amidst all the hullabaloo over SEC pondering an eventual split from the NCAA, what do you predict college sports, especially football, to look like within a decade? Man, I have no idea. They're just trying to ruin the sport, and that's where I'm at. I couldn't even start. Like, that's a 30-minute show, and I really don't know that I have any good answers regardless. I think that they'll find a way to ruin it. They'll make greed really be a thing, and they'll find a way to ruin it. I think that's how that's going to go. Pistons Famo, at Pistons Famo, what's Bryce's floor and ceiling in year one? Floor, I mean, he could, the floor is somewhere higher than what quarterbacking was last year. Say something like 2,800 yards passing, maybe a little lower or something, I guess, because it also is dependent on, this is all dependent on what the wide receivers and the offensive line do as well. So I'd say it's hard to really say what the floor is. Something similar to last year. Better, because I think he'll throw downfield with a heck of a lot more accuracy, but he needs help, right? Guys need to be able to play to do their part. Then I would say ceiling is breaking the single season record. I don't think he's going to do that in year one. I think the median's probably like 3,200-ish yards passing. And let's say they go 16 games, then all bets are off, right? Because that's an extra couple games. But if it's like 12, 13, 14 games, I think it's a little different. So it's hard to really, because they could have anything in between that, right? They could have 12 games and up to 16, so it's hard to say. I would expect an average of about 250 yards passing a game, which is high for Michigan. Because like they might have, like Shea Patterson might have had a couple three straight 300-yard games, but he had plenty of games where he'd throw for like 189. Michigan just didn't ask him to that much, or he just didn't have a good game, depending on what it was. K-Lob711 at K-Lob711. You see Jordan Marshall and Justice Haynes both being able to be 1,000-yard backs, provided the O-line play is up to par, or is it more likely one emerges and plays substantially more than the other? God bless. God bless you as well. I think it's certainly possible. It's we've seen that, right? With Donovan Edwards, Blake Corum. I think it was pretty close. Blake Corum, Hassan Haskins. I think that they're going to be pretty even when it comes to splitting. So I'm going to go ahead and say it's certainly possible. And I don't think it's going to necessarily be one substantially more. Rican Raider at Hamstand 87 with Brady Smigel, committed to Michigan. Will Michigan take another quarterback in this recruiting class? I think only if it's like Ryder Lyons, who's not showing up for a couple of years. Also, can Zuri come to the Northwestern game as a guest celebrity? If she doesn't even like a mile-long car rides, I definitely am not going to be able to get into her car for 5 hours and then have her like chill during a game somewhere. I wish, but I love the sentiment. William Cawthorne 9, is there an algorithm that tells you how many people watch your pod versus listen? I mean, I can just look at the stats on each. Generally, it's about, at this time of year, it's kind of evenly split. But, yeah. Do you think Vlad and Danny will be remembered or celebrated more than Hunter because of how things ended with him? I think that's already the case, yes. I think that, I think Hunter Dickinson's kind of persona non grata. I don't think people love him. It's kind of the same thing like Matthew Stafford leaving for the Rams. Everyone was happy for him when he left, and then all of his whining afterwards, people were like, I don't care what you did. We don't care about you here anymore. This may be an obvious answer, but is there one person, whether it be a coach or a player, that this football team cannot afford to lose? I mean, coaching-wise, and no, not really. At this point, no, I wouldn't say there are any sacred cows there. Because even if Wink leaves, they're just going to get another Wink acolyte, like Lamar Morgan would be probably promoted or something like that. Player-wise, I mean, right now it's just Bryce. You need that type of quarterback that can play. You can't afford to lose Bryce. Jacob Shavoria, how was your most recent experience at an away Maryland game? I'll be there. It was okay. I mean, Maryland's kind of an underwhelming place. I kind of get more enjoyment by going to, like this last time we went with Clayton Safey, Chris Ballas, and Anthony Broom for Crab in Baltimore. Otherwise, tend to go to Washington, D.C. and, see the sights and all of that. That's kind of more of the exciting thing. But, I mean, the Maryland's fine. Nothing to write home about. We did a whole show about that kind of yesterday, about not just Maryland, but all the stadiums. I really don't know what this crane's doing. It's not following what it's supposed to do. It's just fast up, fast down. Okay. Finishing us out in segment 2, Yoder 77. Realistically, how high do you think Michigan, the 2026 class recruiting will be ranked by signing day? I think I know we covered that. Realistically, I think around 12. I just don't think that they're in it as much for some high profile guys, but at this time of year, it's kind of hard to tell, right? No one at this time of year thought Bryce Underwood was going to end up in the class. All right, we've got about 7 minutes left and so many questions. We got a lightning round it. We're going to do that here in just a moment. All right, let's finish up here with the Blue Crew. We've got Paul, Scooby Cy Young season, with a long name. Question for the podcast: what are your honest thoughts on the hammer actually dropping? I mean, my honest thoughts are whatever the rivals think the hammer is, it's not. Like they aren't discussing vacated wins or stripped title, postseason bans. That's not on the table. As much as I'll eat a hat if that's the case, because from everyone that I've talked to that has knowledge of what's actually going on with all of this, that's not the case. They're looking more, as far as the pound of flesh that they're trying to get from Michigan is more like suspension of the head coach. They want someone who was involved to get punished. There will be recruiting restrictions, some kind of fine. Like that's what the hammer is going to be. It's not, if Michigan gets fined and they're like, there it is, the hammer dropped. Okay, great. How disappointed will the likes of Spiro and Scoop be? I mean, they're gonna have a connection if what I'm hearing is true. Like, there will be guys that get show causes, Jim Harbaugh, Connor Stallions, Chris Partridge, right? If that's what you consider to be the hammer, then good luck. James David Dixon at Down I-75. Is Michigan going to be good this year? I think they certainly have a possibility of it. I think that I'm looking at like a 10-2, 11-1 type of season. So yeah, I think that's absolutely in the cards. Backus Duo at the same name. What will be the biggest factor for Michigan football to rebound in 2025? Quarterback stability, offensive improvements, or coaching changes that occurred? I mean, it's all kind of the same because it's all related to the same thing. Quarterback, offensive improvements, and the coaching change. So all three are the same thing, in my opinion, because it all revolves around that one position group. Jaron Snavely at the same. UM fan who lives in Virginia, so I always go to the Maryland away games. Also the cheapest tickets by far. Any chance you'll make the trip this year? I will be making that trip. Do you do fan meetups? I haven't done any yet, but aside from joining other people's fan meetups. But if there's multiple people that want to get together, then by all means we can do it. We'd love to talk all things Michigan football and our shared Christian faith. Yeah, get a bunch of people that watch or listen to the show, read the work on Wolverines Wire, and we can make that happen. Bradley Ramsey at Bradley Ramsey 55. Year one expectations for Andrew Marsh and Jamar Browder. I think you can kind of see in the spring game, it's hard for, we've learned our lesson on this show. We used to sit there and say, first year for, wide receiver, going to be a beast, and it actually almost never happens, right? So I would just temper expectations. I don't really know what they are. I would just keep them tempered. I don't think you're going to see, they can go off. You saw Jeremiah Smith at Ohio State, Ryan Williams at Alabama. But Michigan really isn't kind of that. Number one, I don't know that those receivers are those guys, and don't sleep on Jacob Washington either. They do need the help, but I think you're going to see more of the veterans: Donovan McCulley, and Anthony Simpson, Samaj Morgan, Frederick Moore. And as much as Sharon Moore said, the further away from the ball you are, the more likely you are to play early. Michigan, we just haven't really seen that as much with the wide receivers. Kaysen at Kaysen661515. Not a football question, but what are your thoughts on Yaxel coming to Michigan? We did a segment on that the other day. I think it's huge for the program, and I think it's it certainly makes Michigan a Final Four contender, and I think it's just huge to have that type of star power suddenly in Ann Arbor. Corey at Corey_right18. How does it feel to be used as Ohio State coach Ryan Day in college football 26? I don't think I look like him. Personally, I know some of you do. I've had a beard much longer than he has. For a while, my beard was much longer as well. But, all right. You think I look like Ryan Day, then fine. I understand. Dark hair, wears hats, has beard. Okay. Nick at Nick Austin 13. Why is the Board of Regents trying to interfere with football NIL? How is that not an overreach? I've been seeing these rumors going around. I haven't seen or heard anything that backs any of this up. Just FYI. So, it's me, Kennedy, at the same name with an underscore afterwards. What's the likelihood of the big following suit and breaking away from the NCAA? Does that hold any weight in negotiations with them involving current investigations? I don't think it will, as far as the latter questions, because that's going to be all wrapped up by the time anything like that happens. And I think, the Big Ten's not necessarily protecting Michigan as one of its sacred cows. But I think that the likelihood is if the SEC does it, the Big Ten 100% will do it. And I think it's pretty close to both of those things happening. Master Blaster 90 at Master Blaster D3. What are the best seats for legroom in the stadium? I know it's probably a dumb question, but I've been to a game the past 3 years and I'm a large man and I'm always feeling like that fat guy in a little coat with no room. I know how the stadium is built. Any recommendations? You got to sit up in like a suite or something. Because otherwise, or just go, find a section where everyone stands. That's pretty much your options. Those are pretty much your options. I don't know, because usually I was standing whenever I went. Very little sitting when I went to Michigan games. Before I was on the sidelines. Chad Buman at Buman_Chad. Who's going to be the starting featured tight end? Marlon Klein or Hogan Hansen? Which one will be featured more? I think both will play an equal amount, but I think you're going to see more Hogan Hansen overall. I can't see. Where are we at here? 45 seconds on the camera. Finishing us out, Mason Graham to the Browns. Neo Sports Nerd, do you believe in this O-line room? I do, but there are doubts for many. I think that they will be at least as good as the Alabama and Ohio State games. And you can take that for whatever it is. And I think that that's going to be worth something. I think that I absolutely have faith that it can be a heck of a lot better than what people are giving it credit for. I think there's a lot of people who expect it to not be that good based off of, I don't know what, split squad spring game stuff. That's what I got. All right, that's going to do it for us today. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening. Again, appreciate our everydayers out there. We will talk to you again soon. Peace.